figure, and because time was not there, so I could not discuss this figure in full. I believe most of you have already drawn the figure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I start with discussion. As I have told you, this is a lobate delta model. We have discussed there are different kinds of delta. You can have a Bartfoot delta, lobate delta, Caspet delta. So different. This is a lobate delta model. And this delta model is basically when you have a wave dominated, a little wave dominated setting. As I said that the fluvial dominated setting, they will make the Bartfoot delta. That I will also draw a diagram of Bartfoot delta, how it is. Now, these are basically a wave dominated, and particularly it is a hyperpycnal setting. Hyperpycnal setting. Then you get this kind of a delta. Now, what are the major parts of the delta? You have a delta plane, you have a delta front, and you have a pro delta. You do not have any delta slope here. Delta slope is a specific geomorphic entity that is part of Gilbert type delta. This I discussed earlier also. Here you are getting there. Now, how is delta plane? What is a delta plane? Delta plane is actually a channel levy flat plane system. So a delta plane, if I say that a delta plane, it is a channel levy flat plane. Right? And this channel, what you call the feeder channel of a delta, feeder channel of a delta. And then you can see that there are flat plane, there can be levy, and this is the continental part of a delta. So a delta always have a continental part and a marine part. What we are discussing now, we are essentially discussing the continental part of delta, which is nothing but a channel levy flat plane system. And so what will be the product of it? It will be something like a normal fluvial system, which is at its distal part. And this normal fluvial system in the distal part, you have the channel, you levy, and the product of this system, that will be nothing but the channelized sandstone, the flat plane product, normal fluvial product. That will be the, and in that case, at some distal part in the swamps or bogs, you can also have coal. You can also have coal. You can also get coal in the delta. Deltaic coal is very common. Where in India we actually get the deltaic coal? Which coal in our country is basically deltaic coal? Any idea? Hello? It is the coal beds of Assam. They are mostly the deltaic coal. Whereas the Gondwana coal, what you get from the Jharia and the Gondwana, they are only the fluvial coal. So what is the difference between Gondwana coal and the Assam coal? What is the difference? What is the major difference? Am I audible?
Yes,
The sulfur content.
Yeah, sulfur content. The Assam coal, you have a high sulfur content. Why?
Due to the moisture.
No, it is because of it is a deltaic coal and the effect of marine water. Marine water is always very high in sulfate. There is a high content of sulfur in the marine water. Marine water always has a high content of sulfate. So because it is a deltaic coal and there is an interaction of the marine and the continental system, so always there is a high chance of the sulfate presence in the Assam coal. And that is very, so it is always a problem for the furnace. The Assam coal is a problem for the furnace because any high sulfur coal, it will create the sulfuric acid when you will be, and that basically corrode the furnace. You understand the problem? Anyway, I am not going into that. So at the distal part of a delta plane, you can also have the coal. Now, this delta, this feeder system, as the slope of the delta that decreases as you go more towards the oceanic part, that the slope decreases, and with decrease in the slope, the single feeder system get divided into a number of channel system, which are called the distributary channel. So where you start getting the distributary channel, and at the distal end of the distributary channel, you get the development of the mouth bars. So the channel and the mouth bar. So that this portion we call the delta prawn system. Now individual channel and individual mouth bar, the channel can be several tens to hundreds of meter width, and the tens of hundreds of meter long. Same is the mouth bar, they can be of several hundreds of square kilometer area, a mouth bar. Now how a mouth bar forms? When the channel that is not able to keep its channelized geometry. Now when a channel will not be able to keep its channelized geometry, when the slope is so low that even that the presence of a channel, that becomes very, very difficult, because there is no control of the slope. So the confined flow, so what is the channel flow? Channel flow is a confined flow. So when the confined flow become unconfined flow, so confined channelized flow, it becomes unconfined, then the sediment of the channel that gets deposited at the mouth of the channel, that we call the mouth bar. Okay? Is there any problem here?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, how we distinguish between a channel, what will be the product of a channel and what will be the product of a mouth bar? How we distinguish the products in the rock record, that this is the product of channel and this is the product of mouth bar. If you see, both channel is not laterally extensive. It is this area. So how will be the geometry of a channel? The geometry of a channel deposit will be lenticular in geometry. Lenticular. Similarly, how will be the geometry of a mouth bar? It is not laterally extensive also. So that also will be lenticular. So how we distinguished in the rock record that this is a product of a channel and a mouth bar? So that is actually done. So let me erase this and then discuss. Now a channel will always have a erosional base, and it will be all having, so you have a erosional base of a channel and the channel will be fining upward. This is how a channel will always be having a erosional. And how will be a mouth bar? A mouth bar will be just reverse. Mouth bar will be gradational at its base and it will be coarsening upward. Why this difference? So this will be the product of a mouth bar. Both are lenticular, and this character in the subsurface. So in the delta in the subsurface, then we pick up the delta by the different kind of well logs, and this character that the channel will be fining upward with erosional base and the mouth bar will be the coarsening upward with a gradational base. This is actually picked up in the well log in the subsurface to interpret in the subsurface what is the product of channel and what is the product of mouth bar. Now, why mouth bar actually becomes gradational base? It is because when there is a flow from a channel and it becomes unconfined. So unconfined means you have the flow doesn't have any the strength to erode because it is becoming unconfined and it is losing its strength. So that as it loses its strength, it has no strength to erode. So it will be just by competence failure, the flow will be depositing the material at the where it becomes the unconfined, and that is how the mouth bar it becomes a gradational base. And okay, now we also get another product here, that is the bar finger. Now what is bar finger? It is a very common in case of wave dominated setting, that because of the wave, the sediments of the mouth bar sometimes get reworked, and a bar finger typical character is it should be a clean sandstone. A bar finger become clean sandstone and cross-stratified clean sandstone, which forms because of the reworking of the mouth bars by the wave system. These are called the mouth finger. These are some of the best reservoirs for hydrocarbon when the delta become hydrocarbon bearing. Okay. Then the last part that we get, that is the pro-delta. It is the distal part of the delta, which actually is basically a start setting, except the high stages of the delta when the deltaic sediment is supplied in the distal part in form of plume. So that we get the pro-delta. So sometimes the high flow stage of the delta, supply of the sediment in the distal part by means of plume, that is otherwise it is a start setting. That is a typical situation of a pro-delta. Now, this is so these are the major. So what I have discussed, a delta plane, that is a fluvial channel levee floodplain system, and similar to the other fluvial system, it will have the product something like fluvial. Then you get the delta front. I will draw a three-dimensional diagram also. Then you get the delta front. Delta front is basically the distributary channel and the mouth bar system. We also get the bar finger, and at the distal part we get the pro-delta. This is a Bartfoot delta. There is a lobate delta. So I have, you please draw it and then let me know. Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So these are the three-dimensional views of Barfoot delta and lobate delta. Now, as we know that the Barfoot delta, it is a fluvial dominated delta. So what you are getting the detached lobes and the fluvial system that is actually, it is moving far away within the, below the marine sea level, and it is creating the detached mouthparts at the end of the channels. So this is and the it is something like foot of a bird. That is the shape of it. Now, but when you have a lobate delta, because it is a wave dominated, so what you get a lobate delta, and there are a number of mouth bars that may be formed. So these are mouth bars and these are the interbar area. So the mouth bars, they sometimes coalesce also, and forms a large sheet of the sandstone, and sometimes they may not coalesce, and they may be isolated lenticular bodies which are basically present. But I just tell you the dimension of this, that in case of Mississippi River, that it is the Mississippi Delta, it is a lobate delta, that because of the switching of the Mississippi River in the different position within its own river valley, 7 different lobes were formed. So one lobe overlaps the other, another lobe overlaps the other, and each lobe is a producer of hydrocarbon, and it is producing hydrocarbon for several decades. So it is not that I am drawing it in the board in some size. You can understand that each lobe can be of several hundreds of square kilometer area, a single lobe. That is what is called the mouth bar. So what you may be knowing that in the eastern coast of India, in the Krishna Delta, Krishna and Kaveri Delta, there is a huge reserve of gas that has been discovered by ONGC and Reliance. But how the gas is occurring? They only have tapped one single distributary channel. One single distributary channel that is capable of giving the several trillion cubic feet of gas. So that is the kind of dimension I am talking about. I hope you people have understood. Now we will discuss that how will be a delta succession. When a delta that progrades, what kind of succession a delta will form. Okay. This is a succession for a prograding delta. Please draw it and then I will discuss. Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is a prograding delta, and such prograding deltaic succession, it can be several tens of meters to several hundreds of meters thick. A prograding delta succession can be several hundreds of meters thick. It can be in the surface, it can be in the subsurface. Okay, and delta being the most sought after environment for any hydrocarbon exploration program. So people are very, very curious that what should be the succession of a prograding delta. And many of the prograding deltas, they are found to be very good hydrocarbon reserve. Because the simple reason why delta becomes a good hydrocarbon reserve, because it overlies the basinal shell. Because your pro-delta is nothing but a basinal shell, and that is that acts as a hydrocarbon source rock for the delta, because it is a basinal shell and it becomes a hydrocarbon source rock. And then above this you have a several sand bodies, some sand body formed by channel, some sand bodies formed by the mouth bar, some sand body formed by the bar finger, some sand body formed by the feeder channel. So all these are sand bodies, and these sand bodies act as a reservoir. So you have a proper source rock at its base, and the reservoirs are coming above it. So it's a beautiful situation to form and accumulate the hydrocarbon. Now, for any hydrocarbon reserve, you also require a seal. You also require a seal which will not allow the hydrocarbon to go out. And that seal is provided by the delta plane, floodplain shell, coal, all these that act as a shell for the hydrocarbon that may be accumulated in the delta front sand bodies. So delta plane shell acts as the impervious layer and not allowing the hydrocarbon to go out. So bounded between the marine shell and below and the floodplain, continental floodplain shell above, the delta sand body act as the beautiful reservoir system for the hydrocarbon. Saying so, I am also discussing what is the typical character of the delta prograding delta succession. A prograding delta succession will always form a coarsening and thickening upward succession. It will be a coarsening and thickening upward succession. So, and this will be the overall pattern of the delta succession. Now, within that, I can have, within this large scale overall succession, you can also have the short scale coarsening and fining up cycles. So overall the delta that gives you a coarsening up cycle. This is a delta cycle. We call it a delta cycle. Suppose one delta cycle is formed and then the feeder system, it switches its position. So this delta, it will be finally covered by the basinal shell because there is no supply of the fluvial system. The fluvial system has shifted its course. So this delta is now preserved between the marine shell and the continental shell. So it will be preserved. Now another delta cycle that may form, or another delta cycle can form above this cycle. So a delta is formed a delta cycle. Now, what are the short scale coarsening and fining up? The mouth bars they form the short scale coarsening and the channels form the short scale fining. So entire succession of a delta, though it forms a overall coarsening and fining, but internally it also contains the smaller scale coarsening and fining upward cycles that are defined by mouth bars and the channels. Fine. These are the mouth bars. These are mouth bars. These are distributary channels. These are bar finger. These are feeder channels. This is coal. Hope you have now understood that what is the pattern of succession of a prograding delta. Now, so if I ask that what is the typical character of a delta, how I identify a delta in the rock record, how I identify? A delta characteristically will show both submarine part and continental part. So you have a subaqueous part of that will give upward to a subaerial part. So this typical pattern that a marine system giving way to a continental system and from the subaqueous to the subaerial, this typical character characterizes a delta. Okay. Now, there are typical products of the channel and mouth bar, which are very typical of a delta. So channel and mouth bar, they are very important. There are some paleontological clue also for a delta because there is a mixing of the river water and the marine water. So the brackish water fauna, they are very common in a delta setting. Brackish water fauna, which has because of the mixing of the river water and the marine water. You can have the Scolithos, you can have Cruziana, you can have what they call you can also have the in the upper part you can have Trypanites also. So all these, they are typical of the delta. Now, in some case, you are also get a large scale soft sediment deformation in the delta front sand. Large scale soft sediment deformation. Why? Because the sand bodies which are heavier, that is coming on the shell bodies, and that causes a gravitational instability, and many of the delta, they in the lower part of the sand, they show a large scale soft sediment deformation as well. In some cases, in the passive margin where there are the subsurface evaporite, you can have the presence of salt dome in some of the delta bodies. Salt dome when you have evaporites in the passive margin setting. Is there any question on delta, or otherwise I will move to other topic? If there is no question, then I will move to other topics, because with this I will end the delta.
So where we found the salt dome settings?
It is basically when I will be discussing the tectonics and sedimentation, then I will discuss that how from the rift, drift and passive margin formation. When you have a rift, drift, passive margin formation, then there is always a chance in the how is our east coast? How is our east coast? When our east coast got separated and when our west coast get separated? Hello?
Sir?
When our west coast formed and when our east coast formed? And how do we know that? Anyone has clue? पता है कि मैं बताऊं? हेलो
नहीं पता सर.
So the west coast, that is basically we understand that the west coast is formed in the Jurassic, because the what you people have understood have basically studied that the Jurassic of Kutch. What is Jurassic of Kutch? That is the first marine sediment in the west coast we get in the Jurassic. So unless the coastline is formed, you cannot have a marine sediment and the marine fossil at the coastline. So the first marine record in the western coast that we get the Jurassic, and we believe that by that time the west coast was formed, and that's why we are. And similarly on the east coast, the first marine record, that is the Cretaceous of Trichinopolli, and that is when you have the first record of the marine fossil on the eastern coast. So the Jurassic of Kutch and the Cretaceous of Trichy, these two are the first record of the west coast and the east coast, when the first record of marine fossil we are getting on the Indian continent. And that is the record that when our coastline that is being formed. Is it clear?
Yes.
And then because it was a part of Gondwana, and from that Gondwana it got separated. Its west coast separated first, then the east coast separated after that in the Cretaceous, and India started its northward flight from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. So unless the two coastlines are separated, how can India starts moving? So the west coast was separated, the east coast then separated, and then India got separated from Gondwana and started its flight. And then what people think that there was about 3,000 kilometer subduction of the Neo-Tethys Ocean in front of India. 3,000 kilometers of the Neo-Tethys Ocean that was subducted before India collided with Asia in the end Paleocene Eocene. In Paleocene Eocene, the India collided at around 50-55 million years ago. India first collided. So before that, it got separated from the Gondwana. Its west coast separated, east coast separated. It started moving. It subducted 3,000 kilometers of the Neo-Tethys oceanic crust, and around 50 to 55 million year time that it collided with the Asia. That is the record that we are talking about. But anyway, these are different topics. I am not going into that. Now, why I have come into that? That the eastern coast of India, that is containing all the rivers, the Krishna, Kaveri, Godavari, all they are forming the delta of the eastern coast. Now, if you see, as I said, the eastern coast got separated. Now, separated from the Gondwana. So there must have been rift, and after the rift, the Indian craton, it drifted. So it drifted, and now the Indian eastern coast, that is a passive margin. It is not tectonically agile. So rift, drift, passive margin. Now in this kind of situation, I expect that because it was started with a rift, and I can get the evaporite that was formed in the early rift system, and when it was starved and the evaporite formed. Now those evaporite, now they are basically below, when the delta is forming, below that those evaporites are there. That evaporite, because of halokinetic action, the lower density evaporite will be buoyed up and forms the salt dome. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So देखो एक salt dome बोलने के लिए कितना कुछ इसके example देना पड़ा. So this is actually the what I thought of discussing the delta. Now we will go to the other shallow marine system. So the major, what I discussed, that the major regressive coastline product, that is the delta. Fine. Now we come to the transgressive coastline product. Regressive product, coastline product we have discussed. We now come to transgressive coastline product. And as I discussed, there are two major transgressive product. One is barrier bar lagoon, to estuary. Okay, first start with the barrier bar lagoon. Let me draw the diagram first. Please let me know when if it is complete. Kriti. Is Kriti online? Hello.
No, sir.
So she is not online. Who will be basically taking today's attendance? Is anybody maintaining the attendance? Actually, I asked Kriti to maintain and send me weekly the attendance.
Sir, she is online, but her mic is not working. She's online by the MSc Geology ID.
Acha.
Yeah, she texted in the chat box.
Okay. So she will be maintaining, and if please communicate with her that to maintain the attendance. Okay.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Done, sir.
Okay. So now we are actually discussing a barrier bar lagoon system. Now, what is a barrier? And it is a product of transgressive coastline. Now, what is a barrier bar? It is a geomorphic growth which separates the land at the back of it from the open ocean. It is a geomorphic high that separates the land at the back of it from the open ocean. Now, that is now it is this is actually, this bar forms parallel to the shoreline, but this bar often get dissected. And what will be the interval of dissection? What will be the interval of dissection? At what interval the bar will be dissected? That fully depend on the tidal range. What is the tidal range on the coastline? You know what is tidal range? It is between the high tide and the low tide. And depending on the tidal range, you have the different dissection interval of the barrier bar. Through these dissection points, the open ocean interacts with the system that develops at the back of the barrier bar during the high tide, or during the spring tide, or during storm. So high tide, spring tide, or during storm, the water enters through this into the back of the back system, which is a lagoon. Now during storm, the barrier bar, they may be reworked, and the sediment from the barrier bar can be supplied at the back lagoon in the form of washover fan. So what is washover fan? It is the washing of the barrier bar and supplying the material of the barrier bar into the adjacent lagoon, that we call the washover fan. So what will happen in here, that on the lagoonal sediment, what will be the lagoonal sediment? It is a very low energy system normally. So you will be mostly shelly. So a low energy shell ke upar, the reworked sediment of the barrier bar, it may come as a mass flow or in terms of the stream flow. So it will be erosional at its base and the lenticular in shape. Now, what is more important is that when through this tidal inlet the system operates, then any flow that will cause a kind of small delta at the opening of it during the flood tide. So these will be formed during the flood tide. And this is called flood tidal delta. That is, during the flood tide, the sediment may be discharged and form the small scale delta in the lagoon. Just opposite can happen also, that during the ebb tide, the sediment can be deposited on this side. These deltas are not the delta I have just discussed. These are much smaller scale delta. These are some deltaic separate sand body small scale which I may get within the lagoon or in front of the barrier. So depending on whether it is a flood tidal delta or a ebb tidal delta. Okay. Now, what will be the product of a barrier bar? The product of barrier bar is large scale cross stratified sandstone. Large scale. What I am talking about, large scale. The set thickness can be in the scale of meter. Large scale, generally clean sandstone, because barrier bar, it is a transgressive, and any transgressive coastline is wave dominated. So if a wave dominated, wave will always churn the sediment and make the sediment clean. So the barrier bar, they will be large scale cross stratified. The cross stratifications may be planar curved cross stratification, planar curved trough cross stratification, and they will be mostly clean. And the most important thing is that the large scale cross stratified sandstone, and that will be immediately associated with the black, sometimes the black, gray shale, and many times it may be pyritiferous also. Lagunar shale may be pyritiferous also. So a coarse grained sandstone that is associated with a pyritiferous shale is a very good indicator that I am seeing a barrier bar lagoon system. Is there any question? It is a transgressive coastline. Now, if the whole system is in the subsurface and I am doing the logging, or I am basically, suppose in the subsurface, and there is an attempt by different way, you can understand that this is a condition in the subsurface. How you will be picking up from the no exposure, and you will be totally depending on the geophysics. Well, how you will get that? There are different kinds of the we generate different kind of map. Isofacies map, isolith map. What is isolith map? That is sand is to shell ratio map. All these. What people find that when they do the isolith map, that they get this kind of the isopack or isolith map. This kind of isopack or isolith map, which normally people identify as butterfly pattern. Butterfly pattern is a characteristic identification in the subsurface for a barrier bar lagoon system. Have you drawn?
No, sir. So it's done.
This is a advancing on prograding barrier bar deposit. Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this is a what we discussed, that is a barrier bar lagoon. Now, what is the product of lagoon? I have discussed that it is a low energy environment. So mostly the lagoon, one of the example of the lagoonal system in India is the Chilka Lake. Chilka Lake is a lagoon. Now what happens that the Chilka Lake get replenished by the open marine system at the time of high tide or the spring tide. And then the system it gets nourished, so basically the system in a lagoon, it is either brackish or mostly it is a suboxic to anoxic system. It is a low energy system, and why it is? Because the open ocean energy cannot enter into the lagoon. Because of the barrier bar, it acts as a barrier. Now, barrier bar and lagoon, this is the system we have discussed. Now, we will come on to the estuary. We discussed there are two major types of estuary: wave dominated and tide dominated. An estuary is a product of transgressive coastline. So a delta can change over to a estuary. So what is a estuary actually by definition? Estuary by definition is a drowned river valley. Drowned river valley. That is what is called estuary. Drowned river valley. And how can a river valley be drowned unless there is a transgression? So the river valley gets drowned. And so the present day example is the Bengal Delta, which is now, because of the Holocene transgression, now it is the Sundarban estuary. So that is the drowning of the Gangetic river valley by the Holocene transgression, and the distal part of Ganga, the sediment has been totally reworked by the tide. That because it is a tide-dominated coastline, so the tide has totally dominated. So much tide has dominated that every day tide comes through Ganges River up to Patna and goes back. So that it is a completely the distal part of the Gangetic River that has been drowned by the tidal, the marine system, and totally the tide reworks the Gangetic sediment. And if you go, if any one of you have flew over the Gangetic plain, then you will see that there are large scale triangular bars. The distal part of delta is this kind of bar system, this kind of elongated bar system, and in between there are channels. These are the channels. This is how the distal part of Ganges is. Distal part of Ganges. All these are basically tidal bars. They are elongated bars, and they are elongated bars, and also they are at a. So if you see the Indian coastline goes like this, and bars are very high angle to the coastline. So the coastline ke saath ye bar is very high angle to the coastline. So this is actually the tidal dominated coastline. We will now, the person who gave the model of this estuary, his name is Dalrymple. He actually gave the models that how will be the depositional model of wave dominated delta, and I will now draw both the deltas and then discuss it. Both the estuaries and discuss it. This is a model for wave dominated delta. Okay, this is a model for wave dominated delta, and what you are basically, have you drawn it?
No, sir.
Just draw it and then I will discuss. This is Bayhead Delta. Bayhead Delta.
Done, sir.
Okay. So what you are basically seeing here, that this is the model for a wave dominated delta, and in case of wave dominated delta, you this is the drowned river valley. So this is the drowned river valley. The wave is reworking the river valley at its distal part and forming bars which are parallel to the shoreline. The waves are, so this is a river valley, shoreline is going like this, shoreline is going like this, this is shoreline, and it will create bars which are parallel to the shoreline. The river system that will be restricted to the proximal part in the forming a kind of small scale delta, which is the called Bayhead Delta. It is a Bayhead Delta. Okay, Bayhead Delta, and there will be a low energy environment that will be developed between this Bayhead Delta and the distal bars that has been formed by the wave reworking. There is a low energy environment. So if I consider grain size is coarse because of the fluvial, and grain size is again slightly high, but in between mean in the middle part the grain size is low. Same is the energy. You have the fluvial energy high here, wave energy high here, but in between there is a energy gap. So energy low. The fluvial energy, it decreases as you go from this side to this, and the wave energy decreases from this side to this. The tide energy is very, very low. Tide energy is very, very low. This may be the tide energy. So this is what is told, that it is the kind of, so you have the wave dominated bar at the distal part, you have the Bayhead Delta on the proximal part, and the low energy environment which is represented by the silt and mud and the fine sandstone. That is the in between, that is the typical signature for a wave dominated delta. Any question here? No. So we go to tide dominated delta. Tide dominated, sorry, बार बार मैं डेल्टा बोल रहा हूँ, it is H2L. First, to draw the upper part. If the lower part is not visible, I will change the camera angle. What is TL is tidal limit. Okay, because we created a Google Classroom, and I have seen that many of you have submitted the last day practical exercise in the Google Classroom also. Some has mailed me, some has submitted in Google Classroom. I have seen that. So today we will have a practical class also in the second half. And in the practical class, actually, we will be doing the whatever was left in the last class, that is the rose diagram that was not been done. So that we will be doing today. And also we will start the petrography today. Actually, Aditi is online.
Yes, sir.
So Aditi will be basically through a link. She will open some plastic example and the petrography of that, and we will discuss. And then the exercise will be given to you in the Google Classroom. Okay. So we will upload the exercise in the Google Classroom. You will be submitting based on the date. You will submitting your this thing. Okay. Is it clear to everybody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
सर प्लीज नीचे कर दीजिए कैमरा.
Mm-hmm. Is it visible now?
यस सर.
Is it done?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. This is a tide dominated estuary, and the basic difference between a wave dominated and tide dominated estuary is that tide dominated estuary is a much higher energy system. As we have seen in the wave dominated estuary, then the middle part of the estuary there is a low energy system. There was a energy gap in the low energy system. That never happens in case of a tide dominated estuary, because here in this estuary the river system continues even up to the last. It doesn't end at the it doesn't end as we have seen in case of wave dominated wave dominated estuary, that river system ends with the Bay Head Delta formation. Here there is no such case. The river system, it continues even up to the end of the estuary. That exactly what is happening in Ganges. It doesn't end there. And it forms a large number of channel, large number of channel that it develops. It develops a large number of channels. Now, the main channel, it will be initially, it may be anastomosing or meandering. In the mid part, it becomes little straight and then again become anastomosing or meandering. So this is the pattern, and the energy never goes very down. Here, the bars, they are not parallel to the coastline, but the bars are tidal bars because it's the tide dominated. Tidal bars will be more elongated bars, and they are at a high angle to the coastline. So the orientation of the bar is a very major criteria, that whether it will be shore parallel or it is a shore perpendicular. That is the typical character. When the tide dominated estuary, you get the shore perpendicular. The wave dominated estuary, you get the shore parallel bar system that develops. Now, the tide, this is the tidal limit. That means tide maximum can operate up to this within this river system. The tide can. So in this entire part, the tide will go on reworking the segment. Tide will go on to rework. Another major important feature, as I told, that in case of Ganges, the tide every day reworks up to even Patna. It cannot go beyond that. That is a different issue, that how far the tide actually reworks. But even those who are in Patna, they can see that every day 2 times the tide comes in the Ganges. The high tide comes in the Ganges. Then what it really does, it reworks the entire fluvial sediment. Tide reworks. So you will get what will be the character of that sediment? That the sediment, because it is actually a fluvial sediment, so it will be poorly sorted, but it is tide reworked. So if it is tide reworked, you will get all the tidal signature. But normally you do not expect the character of the sediment of the tide there, because it is a fluvial sediment, but it is a tide reworked. So that is the character of the sediment, that you expect that the fluvial sediment reworked by the tide. If you see the kind of, you see the energy never goes very down. Energy always remains high. Same is the grain size, a little decrease, but not real decrease as you get in the wave dominated estuary. The river energy, that basically, sorry, this is the wrong drawing. The river energy actually continues up to this. River energy decreasing but continues up to this. The tidal energy decreases here. Okay, so this is actually the tide dominated estuary, and this differentiate with the wave dominated estuary. You have any problem here in the two models of the estuary?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. So basically what I wanted to say is that the estuary is a product of a transgressive coastline, and there is a wave reworking and the tide reworking. And if the wave and tide reworking, that basically affects the fluvial valley, and the fluvial sediment is totally reworked by the marine agent, then you call it a estuary. Fine. Now, we will be discussing 2 more systems before we enter into the marine part. 2 more systems we will be discussing in the shallow marine domain before we enter into the entire marine part. One is the tide dominated coastline. It is not that I am talking about the river valley drowning. No, there is no river valley. Besides river valley, I can have a tide dominated coastline, and I can have a wave dominated coastline. Wave dominated coastline, which I also refer to as a strand plain. Okay, where you get the development of a beach, foreshore, shore face, all these backshore. So all these that you develop, it is a wave dominated. And what will be the character of the tide dominated? First, today we start with the tide dominated. Now, tide dominated, normal tide dominated coastline, it is a low energy environment. Any tide dominated coastline, it is a low energy environment. Actually, what happens in a tide? One example I can give you, that is the Odisha Chadipur coastline. It is a huge tidal flat. During the low tide, the huge span of the system that gets exposed, it is a featureless, muddy surface that basically characterize the tide dominated coastline, where it basically, when the gradient of the coastline is shallow, when the gradient of the coastline is shallow, the wave energy dissipates very early. It cannot reach up to the coastline, and then the tide, it dominates. What is the character? This is the featureless, muddy surface. You get this tide dominated coastline in the parts of African coastline, the European coastline, even the Indian coastline. There are many. It depends upon the gradient of the coastline, and there is early dissipation of the wave energy that allows the tide to operate to a large extent. So that is the low energy and mostly muddy. Now, within that, what are the other products of the tide dominated coastline? There are different products. Number one, tidal channel. Channels through which tide operates. So the tidal channel that may have. Number two, inter-channel area. Number three, tidal bars. Number four, subtidal rhythmites. These are the common product of a tidal system. So these are the common products of a tidal system. So we will discuss what will be the character of this product. Now, how we classify the tide dominated coastline? We classified the tide dominated coastline microtidal, mesotidal, and macrotidal. What is it? All depends on tidal range. That is, what is the difference between high tide and low tide? So if you have the tidal range is 2 meter. Tidal range is, there is a less than 2 meter. Then you call it a microtidal. 2 to 4 meter, that is mesotidal. And more than 4 meter, even up to 50 meter, that is the macrotidal. So mostly the tide dominated coastline, they will be either mesotidal or macrotidal. Microtidal coastlines are mostly wave dominated. So when we talk about tide dominated coastline, we basically refer to meso or macrotidal coastline. Okay. Now, any tidal system, that is also subdivided into three parts. One is supratidal, intertidal, and subtidal. So if I have a tide dominated coastline, and this is the high tide, and this is my low tide. So this becomes my tidal range. So what will happen? That above the high tide, this is supratidal. Between the high tide and low tide, this is the intertidal. And below the low tide is subtidal. Okay, so and this may be the mean sea level. This may be the mean sea level. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is actually the tidal condition. Now, what is the most low energy environment among the three? Among the three, most low energy environment is supratidal. Supratidal, because it normally does not get affected by regular high tide or low tide. It only gets flooded when you have the extreme high tide, because there may be the spring tide. When you have a spring tide, or you have a flood, or you have a high energy event such as storm, in that case, this supratidal flood that gets flooded. So the supratidal flood, it is a otherwise low energy. You may get vegetation here. You may also get the flooding at the extreme cases. You even sometimes in the supratidal flood are the very good for the desiccation and the evaporite formation. Desiccation. If you go to do Bombay, and from Bombay to Pune, there are many places you will see that there are in the supratidal flood, they are generating salt. So the supratidal is the lowest energy. So you can have even the channel there in the supratidal and the channel. Now intertidal, it is the every day it is become submerged and immersed. So high tide it is submerged and low tide it is immersed. So you will get the occasional features of desiccation, but also you will get the action of the fluvial product. So intertidal is a mixture of desiccation and the tidal action, both, because it is submerged and immersed. And the subtidal, which is permanently underwater. And that's why the tidal record that also differentiate between the two. You will normally do not get any evaporite deposit or very low energy. So relatively supratidal is the most low energy, then the intertidal, and the within the low energy domain, a little high energy is that of subtidal, because it is continuously under water. Now, I think if I now start the discussion, it will be difficult to stop the tidal before 12. So I am stopping it right now. Just introduce the tidal. I will go on to further discuss the tide, because every part requires the separate discussion and it will take time. Okay? Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
So it is already almost 11:30. You have a class after this?
Yes, sir.